Welcome to the Lead Every Day show. Our mission is to see a world well led. And our strategy to get there? To empower leaders like you to lead every day. So let's get to work.
What's the biggest problem your team is facing? Welcome to the Lead Every Day show. I'm Randy Gravitt.
And I'm Mark Miller.
And we are excited that you have joined us for another conversation here on having great meetings. Mark, we're talking about having great meetings.
Team basics.
Team basics, that's what they are. And I find when I talk to leaders everywhere that one of the things that continues to haunt them is they have these problems that hang over their head meeting after meeting after meeting, week after week. I was talking to a group of leaders the other day and asked them to identify their biggest team challenge or their biggest team problem. They did. And I followed up the question, how many of you this has been your biggest problem for the last 90 days or more? And it was almost 100% of the teams in the room raised their hand going, we've been carrying the same thing over and over. I don't think it has to be that way. If we will embrace a problem-solving strategy, method, it can be huge. And so we're going to talk about problem-solving today. So welcome to the conversation. It's going to be fun.
Well, that's why when we talked a few days ago about what's your vision for these meetings, is the meetings are your forum for solving problems. It's when you bring all this collective wisdom and energy and experience and passion and skills together, and so many leaders aren't using this forum to solve problems.
Okay, so there's lots of problem-solving methods out there. I think you would start by saying you got to have one.
Right.
And different kind of problems have different, we'll talk about that a little bit. But we can't give them method. I mean, you're going to have to choose your own, but I think we can give them some tips today, some things that will help them as they think about solving problems week after week after week. Problems really are a gift to a team. It's why your team exists in a lot of ways. It's like you're here to solve problems and make things better. And I think we get our head around the fact that we're gonna take ground every single week on whatever it is we're facing that's challenging. It's amazing how much progress we can make with that mindset.
Yeah. So I love the idea of sharing some tips. So this first tip may surprise you. You need to bring only your biggest problems to the team. If they're small problems,
that's good.
Solve them outside the room. Now, you may be thinking, that could be time consuming. Sure, the problems you bring will probably not be solved in a single meeting, depending on how long your meetings are. If you've got a 30-minute or an hour meeting and you're bringing in these big problems, you're going to end up breaking that up and deal with it over numerous meetings. And I think that's fine. So bring your biggest problems. I think that's my first tip. Yeah,
that's good. As I think about the agenda, let's go back to what we talked about. Having time to solve that, I go back to what you said. Sometimes we don't feel like we have enough time to do it. Well, then you may need a longer meeting.
You might need a longer meeting, and you might need more meetings.
Or you may need an offsite. Some problems are big enough that you're not going to solve it in 30 minutes, like you said. I think that's great. I also think that this idea that we can put something on the table and then we can ask ourselves some questions. These would be some tips I would give is what's causing this problem? I think sometimes we don't even, we have a problem and we don't really back up to think what's causing this.
Yeah.
Build on that.
Well, rarely is the presenting problem
the problem. That's what I was going to say. It's like if we get that on the table, now we've got a chance to talk about it and we go, this is not actually the problem. This started way back here because we didn't deal with this. And now it just builds on itself. So that, to me, is a good tip as well. Just what's causing the problem.
Sure. And that may require, and often does require, some brainstorming. It could be this. It could be that. Some discussion, some debate.
Yeah.
And it's one of the beefs I have with a lot of the traditional problem-solving models is they skip the identify the root cause step.
Yeah.
And because if you and I are trying to solve a problem, let's say we want to improve sales, and you think the problem is our prices are too low, and I think we need new products. And if we don't agree on that, then we start brainstorming. We start our problem solving, and you're trying to figure out how to increase prices, and I'm trying to figure out how to innovate our new product process. Yeah. And so I think that is a great tip, is spend the time and energy. Now back to, let's pretend you only got an hour for a meeting, and if you go to our rule of thumb, 75% is performance management, you may use the entire 45 minutes trying to discuss and debate what's the real root cause. And you may or may not reach a conclusion.
Yeah.
Because my next tip is, what does the data say?
Yeah.
Now, you may or may not include the data in that conversation, but if you didn't, then the action item is for somebody to collect the data before the next meeting, because you're still trying to figure out what is it exactly we're trying to solve.
Yeah.
A problem well defined is half solved.
Yeah, that's
and
good.
so many problem solvings get off the track from the very beginning because the problem is not well defined.
Yeah, that's good. Okay, so let's go back to, you talked about brainstorming, and I think you referred this a few days ago. You were talking about sometimes we get into brainstorming and we think we're going to brainstorm something for 5 minutes, and brainstorming takes longer. Go back and check that out. I mean, we've talked about that, but you get some time on like what are the cause of this, but another way to brainstorm is what might be the possible solution for this.
Well, at some point you got to get to that.
You got to get to that. But then I think you have to ask yourself the question, once you have this list of 9 things you can do.
Or 90 or
90
900.
or 100.
I've been in brainstorming sessions where you generate over 1,000 options.
Yeah, it's crazy. But at some point you got to choose something
That's the
to
next
try.
step.
And that's the next step. And that's a tip I would say as well. It's just, once you get a list of possible solutions, you got to choose one, and everybody's got to go work on that. And then if it doesn't work, you're going to go back and maybe pick something else off the list. I mean, there's lots of things to
It's
do
an
here.
iterative process.
Very simple stuff.
Yeah.
But so many people carry these problems week after week after week, and they don't give any thought to any of this.
Just solve them.
And exactly.
Just solve them.
Yeah.
And again, I would argue most of the problems that are the nagging problems, it's a lack of focus. It's a lack of attention. There is time on task required to solve your biggest problems.
Yeah, that's so great. So, okay, as you think about these smaller problems, you said a moment ago, those should be solved outside the meeting. Sometimes there might be some nagging, smaller, they shouldn't be big problems, but they would become big problems because we let them fester. Week after week after week, we don't deal with it.
Yeah.
Maybe a team problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, what would you say to that team that may be struggling with some of those little things, that just the nuance of some of the small stuff? You got a tip?
Well, we're going to talk about decision making tomorrow, but
On Monday, actually, we're going into weekend.
Monday,
right now.
sorry. But to that question specifically, I'd look to the leader and go, what do you want to do?
Yeah.
Like, tell us how to move forward here.
Yeah.
And the leader can break that logjam and break that impasse. I actually experienced that several years back. We had hired an outside consultant to come in and help with our meetings, which we've done that from time to time forever. It's like a professional athlete who hires a coach. I mean, we kind of know how to do this, but we needed some fresh eyes. So we paid somebody to come in and help us make our meetings better. And we got to the end of a prolonged discussion, and we were ready to punt it to the next meeting. And this outside observer said, no, I think you may have enough for a decision here. We all looked around, and the outside process guy looked at the leader and said, have you heard enough to make a decision? He's like, well, I have. And so the outside guy said, well, just make a decision. Let's move on. We were ready to kick it forward, but we were being encouraged. You don't need more conversation on this, is basically what he said. And he called on the leader to make a decision, which I thought was kind of cool.
I love that. All right, so let's wrap it up today. This idea of these problems are going to keep popping up for your team. And if you don't have a process, a method to solve them, they're going to nag. Again, they're going to fester. They're going to grow. And small problems become big problems and I think leaders lose their credibility when they allow, it goes back to what we said earlier in the week, is this information sharing. Hey, what are you working on? What are you working on? If you're not working on your biggest problems together, you're leaving lots of results.
You're missing an opportunity.
You're missing a huge opportunity there. All right, so I want to tell them about an opportunity before the weekend here. I got a book coming out in June, just a few weeks away, called Winning Begins at Home. It's a simple little leadership parable, but in the back, I'm so excited about this. There's 50, 60 pages of a process, really a strategy to help leaders win beyond work. And I think this is going to be really cool. And right now, I got a little advanced reader copy here. They're going to be cool. We got a hardback coming out here in a few weeks, which will be great. But if you're looking for a strategy to help you win outside of work, I think if you win at work and you lose at home, I think you still lose. We want to help you there as well. And so I think this book will be helpful to you. I'd encourage you to go to leadeveryday.com/winning and check that out. Some of the offers we got going on there. We got a course coming out, got all kind of offers, stuff that we're doing for people. It's going to be cool. If you buy the book, we're going to give you $150 worth of bonuses for free. And so if you purchase that book, there's links there to get you to where you want to go. Winning begins at home. Really excited about that, coming out in a few weeks. And I hope, Mark, you'll do a little winning this weekend at home yourself. I'm going to try to. We're going to be back on Monday. We'll talk one more team basic here when it comes to our meetings. We're going to talk about decision making. You said that at the end, and so I hope you guys will continue to join us. Share with your friends and family. Keep those downloads coming. We appreciate all you do, and we're excited to partner with you in whatever way we can. Just let us know how we can help. Remember, the best leaders lead every day.